Joined now by Missouri Republican Roy Blunt, who was in that hearing yesterday. Senator, good morning. Welcome. Good to have you here today. We were all watching this on television. What was it like in the room?
Well, my guess is in the room it was a little less tense maybe than it appeared on television, but certainly as these hearings go, it was a pretty intense hearing. I didn't serve with Senator Hagel in the Senate. He had left the Senate long before I got here. I served with him when I was in the House and he was in the Senate. I like him. I admire his service in Vietnam. His brother was there, who they served in the same platoon. His family, his wife was there. That always adds an element to the moment. But frankly, I just didn't think his answers were very good. And on the containment issue, I really do believe, I've become convinced that he really does believe his statements over the years about Iran and thinks we could contain a nuclear Iran. I don't think we could. I don't intend to vote for him in the committee or on the Senate floor. And there were just so many inconsistencies yesterday that were explained by, well, I'd have to look at the whole context of what he said. I said at the time, Senator Hagel kept saying. Yeah. I think it's pretty clear what he said at the time, and it's in contradiction with what he's saying now. If he'd have just said, I thought that then, but I don't think that now, I'd actually have a little more faith in his ability to move forward in this critical job.
What's your sense among the senators who will vote on this? Is there a sense that it's different now based on what happened yesterday? I mean, are people saying, that they are surprised, shocked at some of his answers? Or is it a question of, well, he didn't do that well, but it doesn't really change how I thought about him?
Well, I don't know what. Everybody's going to have to answer that question for themselves. The president usually gets a lot of leeway in who he puts in the cabinet, who serves and leaves the same day the president leaves, more leeway than the president gets, or in my view should get, with like a Supreme Court appointee. I voted for John Kerry, though I don't agree with John Kerry on lots of things. But this defense secretary job at a time when the president clearly is willing to really let our military be much smaller and much less capable than it's been in the future, that it's been in the past, having that person not aggressively arguing for a strong American military is a problem, and I think there are a number of Democrats who surely would think it was a problem as well.
All these things came up beforehand, comments of his about Iran, comments about the Jewish lobby, which he says he wished he hadn't phrased it that way now. But the White House said all along, we'll wait till we get to the hearing, because once you hear the context of how he feels about these things, we think that will put those concerns to rest. Doesn't feel like that's what happened yesterday.
On that Jewish lobby question, that is clearly offensive to people who are in support of Israel. And one of the things he said yesterday troubled me when he said, that's the only time I've ever used that phrase on the record. If this is a phrase you use with some consistency off the record, that's a big problem. If he'd have said that's the only time I've ever said that, and I shouldn't have said it that way, that's one thing. But when he said that's the only time I've ever said that on the record, that sure didn't alleviate my concern of his view of our close relationship with Israel.
I have to let you go now, but I just want do you think he passes or not?
Depends on whether there's a 50-vote margin, 51-vote margin, or a 60-vote margin would be my guess as to whether or not this nomination is successful.
What does your gut tell you right now?
I think for a cabinet office, 51 votes is generally considered the right standard for the Senate to set. And at that level, I think he makes it, but I don't think he makes it with a lot of room to spare.
Interesting. Senator, always good to have you. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Have a good day.